I just have no idea how upset works.
Yes, everyone, welcome the intern Ian. We're happy to have you.
I don't know. He almost looks like Alan now.
It almost does.
Shave the head a little more, maybe, and then I'll get on it.
Gain about 120 pounds.
And 2 feet of height.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm Jeff. I'm based in Central Ontario. I'm a target shooter, ham radio operator, general overall handyman, weather nerd, and Ian's pain in the backside.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And I'm Brad.
Nope.
I'm in Eastern Ontario, part-time amateur prepper, constantly trying to better myself.
And I'm the Frugal Gunny. I was muted. Now I'm not. I recently moved to Northern Ontario in the middle of nowhere. I'm an off-gridder, a shooter, a hunter, fisher, gatherer, trapper type, and a generalist. And it's only fairly recently that I came to accept that I'm a prepper.
And I'm Terry. I live in sunny Southern Ontario, and I'm a starving indie author, a terrible hunter, a pathetic fisherman, and an absolutely challenged gardener. But I am a proud Ford owner. And there you go.
Well, there we are.
Oh, I guess this is where I fill in, eh? Hey, I'm Mel. This will be my third time on this incredible podcast. I'm a horticultural student, and I'm absolutely adore anything nature and the secret she holds. Besides my green thumb, curious mind, and the love for nature, I'm an avid hunter, beginner homesteader, hippie at heart, and someone that enjoys life's adventure with an open mind, with the willingness to learn and share what I know. Just one more thing to add. I'm a proud Chev owner and a life straw connoisseur during the eclipse.
Yes.
Trifecta.
Well played. Well played. This is why you're back for a third time.
And this is why the YouTube should actually auto censor us and unsubscribe people.
Oh boy.
Okay,
Lord.
so if you want to... Oh, sorry, Mel.
No, go ahead.
Okay, if you want to help support the show, buy some swag. We have both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the Tactical Velcro patch. Just go to www.prepperpodcast.ca. All of the podcast proceeds go to help with our podcast costs.
All right, if you're enjoying the show despite the lifestyle banter, please take a few minutes and submit a review wherever you can find us. We want your feedback, even if it's bad. We also invite you to reach out and tell us something you learned this week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
And if you learn something specific about the eclipse, make sure to send it directly to Ian with the subject line eclipse.
Pictures own you double points.
Well, you got to make sure, when it's going to be dark to be able to see, maybe put some fluorescent tape on that life straw or something so you can find it.
I'm seriously starting to understand why the Aztecs got the hearts out of their enemies right now.
Or one of those eye tags so you know where the location is.
All right, we've got some sprouting content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some relevant news articles. We're going to continue roasting Ian because we can. We'll update you on our personal preps. Then we're going to get into the main topic, and we're talking about spring gardening. Let's move into the news.
All right, well, if it wasn't beaten into us heavily enough already, there is an eclipse tomorrow at 3 p.m.
No, hold on.
I'm hoping tomorrow around 3:15 people will stop talking about it because it's starting to drive me batty already. But in the meantime, everybody's panicking. Government's telling people to gather up foods and water and supplies and gas tank. Keep their gas tanks full. Yeah, which is always a good idea, anyways. But by
the government telling people to do prepping?
If they are, but the funny thing is, for a completely insane reason. I would hope that we've stopped with the idea of cutting out the hearts out of our enemies and stuff in order to appease the sun gods and stuff, but I don't understand what the panic's about, honestly.
It's about the eclipse, if you haven't heard. That's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, It's not like it's like the alien ships are hiding behind the sun or anything else and coming out after. I just don't get it.
Is that maybe that's what's happening?
Never know.
Well, so the news articles I've read that are really silly lately, it's like NASA is shooting 2 rockets at the moon or something during the eclipse. I was like, why? It's like not like America is shooting a pistol at the moon or something. I don't get it. And then somebody else was talking about some locust attack and a bunch of other stuff. I was like, oh, for God's sakes! It's getting out of hand. So it's worse than toilet paper rushes, actually. But anyway. Other thing, 4.8 earthquake in New York City. I guess they dropped the Richter scale because Mr. Richter got canceled or something. I don't know now. They call it a momentary magnetism ratio or whatever it's called. Anyway, but it's 4.8 and more panic. So yeah, they had a bunch of people fleeing New York City because there was a 4.8 earthquake. What they were fleeing from or where they were going to, I don't know, because I don't know where they would figure that was safer than a place that you barely even felt the earthquake. I don't know. But there's an article on CBC there. And just for comparison, we had like a 6 last year. We didn't even feel it where we were. And I think we had a couple hundred in the last month or something and didn't even notice any of them.
A 6 on the Richter or 6 on this new non-Richter better scale thing?
Well, I don't know how the new scale works. It was 6 on the Richter. I know that.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Stats are important.
Don't you get started with me. That's pretty much all I had.
All right.
Well, I'll keep on the earthquake theme. For those of you who weren't paying attention, obviously there was the one in Taiwan. It was a 7.4. They say there's still probably a couple of hundred people missing. There's not that many fatalities at this point, which is, I think, incredible for them considering their population density, the strength of the earthquake, the location, everything like that. They got off pretty lucky. So they've had some pretty decent aftershocks, but so far, nothing else. I'll talk a little bit about it in my weather blurb.
I posted up an article here about, oh my God, I'm losing my notes here. It's just basically gardening tips for beginners where you can run them through. It's on, what is it there? Regina. It's based out of Regina. So, I mean, unless your growing zone isn't necessarily that, I wouldn't 100% listen to this, but it does give you some good tips to know for all types of growing regions. And I can't even load it to pick out points. So, oh, there we go.
Well, being the most desolate city in Canada, I don't think anything grows in Regina, does it?
Oh, tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that should we move into what we've done lately for preps? Start with Brad.
Yeah, so plenty of work over the last little while. Bit of fuel rotation. Had to pat myself on the back because I don't do a lot of engine stuff, but I managed to fix a generator that hadn't run in a few years and got it running nicely.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Studying the ham radio book when I have time, and I've downloaded all of the practice questions from Industry Canada, whatnot, and I've started looking through those as well. Let's see, bought some tomato cages for this year. Started cleaning out where I want to plant my garden this year. Helped a buddy a little while ago with a hot water tank issue, and think we got it figured out. Have to get another part, and hopefully that'll be fixed. I on the generator theme there, I wired up and installed a through the wall hookup for the generator. Plug it into the 240 outside. You get the 6 plugs on the inside thing. And I ordered a furnace switch. Sorry, a furnace transfer switch for the generator. You just plug it in, flip the switch, and you don't have to do any other wiring or anything. And hoping that's going to show up soon and wire that in. And then more work and some more work.
So does that allow you to run the fan for the furnace then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a transfer, complete cutoff from line power to generator power. Has the little box you mount on the wall and has the male end of a extension cord in it. So you plug in the extension cord to it and then plug it in to the generator or to the through the wall thing that I installed, and you can run the fan because it's a propane generator or propane furnace. Sorry, so I'll have heat in the house.
Nice.
See how that goes, and I might order a couple more for the hot water tank and the sump pump and the well pump, so that everything just plugs in. No extra wiring, no fiddling around with nothing. It's all just
nice.
Click, 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 plug, plug, plug. We're good to go. So
very nice.
Or you could just get a Generlink and then you wouldn't have to wire anything.
Well,
right,
I'm working on that one. I'm working on that one. I would love to get that. That is the ultimate to do that. But I've had this the Reliance through the wall thing for a few years that we've been here and finally got around to putting that in. So that's a start at least. So there's no cords through the window, so to speak, and small steps, right?
You could always get a Generac and just count to 10 and everything comes back on.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I had to go there too.
Humble
I know
brag.
that's fantasy world for me. That's fantasy world for me right now. But hey, start small.
Nope. Yep. Small steps. You got it.
Yeah. So that's it for me. Jeff?
I on that topic of generators, did my monthly generator tests. Made sure they ran, put a load on them, just make sure everything was working fine before the eclipse comes. Got to make sure they're going to be working. And I started working on my firewood. I said for next season. I have my wood for next season. It's for the season after, so getting a bit of a head start.
Very nice. For myself, a little bit of range time, so that's always good. What else? Learned how to fix some internals in one of my radios. So my my little portable one that I take out to the park ended up completely dying on me. So it was actually to the point we had to put it under the microscope to replace some little bits and pieces on the board. So learned how to do that. That was kind of neat. Ran an NVIS test with a listener. So that was pretty good. We were able to make voice contact, and we were able to do JS8 call, and approximately about 280 kilometers distance between the two of us on NVIS. So that was pretty neat. And switching between my actual higher up 30 feet or so up antenna versus the one down about 10 feet. I wasn't able to hear him on the one way up in the air, but the one right down at 10 feet set up for NVIS worked perfectly. So it was nice to see that all worked. And I got my Meshtastic node all set up and solar powered, and it's running, and have made a few contacts. So that's been interesting, a fun little thing to play around with. So a little bit of range time, and then a whole bunch of radio nerding.
So for those of us that don't speak nerd, what's NVIS again?
So that is a near vertical sky incidence. So that is bouncing the signal pretty much off the ground, right up into the ionosphere, and then right back down, so you can get local communication versus worldwide communication.
Awesome.
Yep.
Sweet. I can't remember the last time I was on here, honestly, being the new guy and all. I know I recorded the John Newman podcast about 6 weeks ago or whatever, 8 weeks ago, and then finally it aired about I think 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I got lots of good feedback on that from coworkers and everything. They all seemed to think it was good. I think Sean was expecting Walking Dead, and he got Little House on the Prairie, so maybe it was a little bit of a surprise for him. But
he did sound a little thrown off for the beginning.
Yeah, because he was expecting the world's going to end, and instead I was just get some booster cables. So it was
and a life straw.
And a life straw. Yeah, but no, I just
he kind of went on a little bit about that 25-year food. Oh, you wouldn't buy that? You wouldn't. He went on and on and on. I'm like, just no.
No, just buy what you eat, or eat what you buy. Buy what you eat. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, no, it was really good. He was an awesome guy, especially before the show. Great guy to chat with, and turns out we have some mutual friends in the same area in Saskatchewan and stuff. And yeah, so it was all good. Myself, for work, I've been knee deep in paperwork, so I hadn't been able to do a whole lot of preps. I've been spending a lot of time in Vancouver on call, so the good news is they're paying me to go to the gym and hang out with my kids, but in reality, I don't get a whole lot of time on the Doomstead, so here I am over in Vancouver. Anyway, so that being said, I'm trying to lose some weight. Extended New Year's resolution that's still going on. Started with the facial hair, so I decided to trim some. That's probably 2 pounds right there I lost, so I was just that was all gone. Which most people don't recognize me now, it seems, but yeah, workouts are doing well, and lots of water, and which also ties into the other podcasts along with the Patriot Challenge and stuff. Spent a lot of time on the acreage just dejunkifying lately because I guess clean Doomstead, clean preps and everything, because it's amazing how much stuff you collect after about 10 years. And so whether it be spare tires or just metal poles or whatever, it's just giving stuff away on Craigslist, and that keeps you amazingly busy when people are constantly showing up at your house, that's for sure. So got rid of a lot of duplicates. We went through a lot of our inventory as far as storage food goes, and it's amazing how fast some of the crackers and stuff will go off with the oil going rancid and stuff. So you gotta watch your preps on that stuff, because sometimes having 6 or 7 bags of chips might not be a good idea. Well, just because they're chips, but also the fact that they'll go bad after a while too. So yeah, no, it was good to do a mini inventory on the whole collection there. Been a fuel rotation before the carbon tax kicked up a notch there, so I made sure everything was full and fresh because I didn't want to sit there and pay an extra. I think it was an extra 30 cents a liter we got here in BC. It was crazy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, patched up some baby chickens. We had about a 70% hatch rate, which was pretty good. And so we got 18 baby chickens now, and they're already feathering after like a couple weeks, so that's good. And they seem amazingly tame for humans, which is good. And then I didn't, but my wife planted some asparagus to tie into the gardening episode because, you know, somebody's got to do some gardening around there. And yeah, that's about all we've done so far because we had a really late, well, you guys can appreciate we had a really late snow and everything else too. And the mint's just popping up, so you know mojito season is on the horizon. So that's good.
Does it ever leave?
Yeah, well, the fresh mint is a nice touch, right? So it's just starting to pop out of the ground again. And the nice thing is it's just so invasive that you know it's like idiot gardening for myself. It's perfect. So, anyways, that was good. That's pretty much it for me, though.
It's good to see some things don't change, and your what you've done lately is a couple of pages long.
Surprisingly not, though. Like, I mean, really, it wasn't a whole lot. Just trying to clean up my life, so to speak.
Fair enough.
The only
First
thing
step
we
is
miss
amendments.
the only thing we miss is the CGN deals.
Well, I did do one of those, but that was like in between the two times I was on the podcast. Didn't think it really counted, and it was my last 8mm Mauser. It was out the door, so now I'm kind of sad on the inside, but it's okay. I'll survive.
There's a void.
Yeah.
On my end, what have I been up to? I did a little bit of field rotation, and I finally started working on that mythical battery pack. And I got a little bit of time on the trigger, and that was really good. Also been preparing my own little spot so I can be ready for the spring bear hunt, which is coming up soon. And I did not go up to my cabin the way I had intended because I had a little bit of brake work to get done. A little bit of surprise break work. So otherwise, work. That's what I've been up to.
Hey, Terry.
Well, let's see. I pulled the mobile bug out location up to the laneway from the backyard and began getting that thing ready for summer camping season. And you know, just in case the eclipse zombie raid comes or whatever, I threw a couple of bodies out in the front yard, and I'm gonna burn those tomorrow. And just to
Well, I have questions. Like, did you have a couple bodies just hanging around, like just ready for immediate use?
Why do you sound surprised by this? Do you not?
yeah, really.
Well, I
Like,
usually feed mine to the pigs to get rid of them, but I mean,
no, I don't have any pigs, so I just store them up in the back in the shed and bring them out and burn them if I think something's going to happen. I don't want to keep people away.
Well, never hurts to be prepared, I suppose. Yeah, it's
Well, you know, I heard there's some liberal pollsters in the area. I just wanted to make sure they didn't stop by.
well, just remember, rule one of Zombieland is the cardio, right? So
Right on.
Oh boy. Go for it, Mel.
For me, I'm working on some personal, like bettering my personal habits, kind of like Ian. But I mean, I use a life straw. Meal prep, I was working on too. We also want to focus on, when it comes to meal prep this year with the garden, is to like focus on herbs and water bathing. So we're starting to get ready for all that. I just finished up my last course in university. I'm just chose my next one, which is going to be focusing on soil and plant growth. It's more of a chemistry focus, so I'm a little intimidated, but I mean, I'll get it done, I guess. Yeah, so here we go, reading over my notes. Oh, yeah, that's about it for us. We've been just basically working on the house, getting it organized and ready for May long weekend. We have to move a couple of the sheds around in the back, and we've been planning actually our own gardening and our own just backyard design for landscape wise, because I mean, we got a brand new house, so everything's a clean new slate. So I got to start from the bottom up, which kind of sucks, but hey.
Hey, pros and cons of that, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, with that, let's kick off to the main topic. We'll let Mel run with it, and welcome back for the third time. Appreciate the roast against Ian there at the beginning and throughout. And if the odd life straw pops up while we talk about gardening, it's totally acceptable.
Every plant needs one to survive. I did try and get Corey to come join back on because I mean he is sort of a mentor. Well, not sort of. He is kind of my mentor. Again, kind of. I love Corey. He teaches me a lot. And him and his wife Carrie have been really practicing and putting things into practical use. So I mean, they're really good people to really learn a lot off of. So, but yeah. So with gardening planning, it can be a taunting thing, but it also can be a really fun thing at the same time because like there's so much stuff that goes involved with everything. But the first place I do recommend you to start, it would be to go into your grow zone. And I do have a couple of links posted up in the notes if you want to throw them up. So there's an Ontario website that you can actually go on, and it shows you your grow zone. Like for us, we are oh my lord, I think we are 7B if I remember correctly. So any plants from the lower number to whatever your region is, you can actually plant in your zone, and that is actually your starting point because you don't want to put some coconut tree when you can't grow coconut trees, so I mean you can let me know how you're doing it because I mean it's awesome.
Well, is this a good time to mention we do palm trees where I am?
I mean, BC is special all on its own. Like you guys have like all 4 type of ecosystems within like one province. It's really amazing. Like you could have snow in the middle of like springtime and you're looking up watching skiers come down the mountain, but yet you're in like warm water because spring temperature on the mainland is, pretty decent.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that it's AI, but
it's all holograph.
We have the only 9A zone in Canada.
Yeah. It's pretty like my grandmother's out your way and like it's absolutely beautiful province and you guys are lucky that you can take advantage of having such, like you said, such a wide zone that you're able to plant pretty well everything. Yeah. There was another little site I was playing around before as I was writing up the notes too. I tend to do pen to paper, sorry. When it comes to organizing garden, just because I do have a little bit more skill and I can mess around with it. And I tend to use the old method where I will map out my yard, but then I'll use a piece of tracing paper over top. So then I can play around where I want to move my beds or where I want my main gardens or what I want to plant because you want to do a rotation also when you go through that, which we'll get into later. But it's so much easier than having to draw multiple things all at once. But if you're tech savvy or you love using your device or whatever, there is a site. I'm trying to get the name off my notes here. Garden Supply Company. And it seems to be a simple, straightforward type of website where you can move little pictures and stuff into the grid you set up onto the site. And with doing so, you can visually see what you're planting, but it also makes it a little bit more fun to visually see things. Again, everything's crashing on me. I had my site pulled up here so I can like write or explain as I go on here. But anyways, we'll go off the top of things. So yeah, like that site, and it's free. That's the best thing is like you don't want to spend more money than you have to when it comes to planting a garden because you want to put all your resources into your actual garden, especially when it comes to your seeds and your soil. You don't necessarily want to cheap out on it. If you are feeling a little bit more riskier or you have more disposable funds, the Farmer's Almanac offers a whole barrage of stuff on their website. You have to unfortunately pay for it, but like they will actually email you for reminders for when you have to rotate your crops or when they have to be planted, because there is certain times of the year where plants like either a cold germination or they'll enjoy a warm germination depending on what you're planting. Some of them even have to go through a full complete winter cycle, or some of them unfortunately have to go through a forest fire to be able to be germinated. Oh, the eclipse is crashing everything. Yeah, jeez. Trying to see, but yeah, like that whole site like has everything from like a journal to some videos if you need help. Like it's actually a pretty cool site that I may actually explore a little bit more myself. But
it sounds handy. Like it can help keep you on track and send you reminders and such is always a good thing, right?
Oh, 100%. Because when lives get living, it's really hard to keep on top of it sometimes, and it just, one day you're sitting there going, "Oh crap, I have to go out and do this," and it's actually pretty cool. So, who knows?
Yeah, hey, well, times are good. Why not take advantage of the technology, right?
100%.
Just don't become reliant on it. That's the key.
That is 100%. That's a good point, actually. Like, really don't. Like, really, like, as much as it's annoying, like, even if you play around with the internet or those apps that you can find or whatever, make yourself a hard copy. Because what happens if the eclipse hits and then apocalypse happens and then, like, your 3 days of darkness and, like, you're walking around with all this spice? Like, you need to know.
Oh.
You really do.
It's true.
At the very least, we have a paper calendar up, and you can figure out which days stuff needs to go in the ground or leave inside the house to go outside and everything else. After it's just a good idea to have it somewhere other than your iPhone.
And don't forget the mark on the paper calendar, the day that you have to flush your life straw.
Let's keep that blurred out for the. There you
go. So when you come planting your garden, it sounds funny, but like, sit there and watch your backyard for a duration of like at least a month. Especially when you're coming from like winter into spring, you get to see how your water will accumulate in your backyard. You'll get to see how wherever the sun goes on your own property, you'll see if you got trees or bushes or whatever, sheds, campers, anything that will actually impact the sunlight, right? Because then that will all determine what you're going to plant and where you're going to plant. So when you're actually doing your design, that is key. I mean, open up your cooler, throw some beers in there. If you're like me, roll a couple of joints and you're good to go. Just spend the afternoon in the backyard.
That is a really good point, though. Pre-planning things and getting your garden kind of laid out according to the terrain and the environment that you're going to be growing in makes total sense. But something that I have honestly skipped before, I just set things up, go, yeah, it looks good, and then epically fail. So
especially with some stuff like full sun, some stuff like some partial shade, other stuff doesn't want any sun and everything else. So it's important to plan that out too, right?
Yep. And some like morning sun or afternoon sun, like it's a whole science behind whatever plant that you are planting. You're 100% right. Like even wind direction, sitting there and watching like during your storms or during your windy days, see how the wind goes and moves around your property, even with those buildings and everything else. Because like you might get a bit of a Venturi effect where you want something that's not going to snap your plant because you want that wind to hit your plants to establish a really good stem and into the root, because that helps with the roots. Because the stronger your root base is, the stronger your stem is, the more able that your plant's able to take on the weight of whatever you're growing.
Plus transpiration and everything else too, right?
100%, yeah. Yeah. And then like when you get into all that stuff, you got to put into consideration the different kinds of ground covers you use, whether you're using rocks or you're using mulch, or if you're simply using a plant like red clover, because all that plays into a part, right? Like where red clover will add nitrogen back into the soil, which will also help your plants. If you're going to put down rocks, well, that rock might have been shook around with some type of mineral or whatever that might be putting into effect of your plants, right? Like if you're going to drop silica into it, yeah, those white little rocks are beautiful and it makes everything look clean and crisp, but is the minerals that are going to wash off of that mineral itself, is that going to affect your plant? Same thing with the mulch, like it's going to bring in a little bit more earwigs or more type of beneficial bugs that will break down all that, because you're basically breaking down a raw organic matter. So you got to put all that into play. Like if you're going to start your soil a little bit earlier, maybe mulch would be good to mix into it, because as that breaks down, you're releasing certain types of gases, you're releasing like the minerals, you're bringing in the beneficial bugs, so you're loosening up all the soil and everything like that. So like there's a huge, like it sounds so sciencey, and I'm making it sound so complex, but once you get the feel of it and the groove of it, and your soil in your backyard and what you may need to do to manipulate it. And that's another thing that I actually don't have in my notes, figuring out what kind of soil you have. Because if you got clay base, well, then you know that your soil's going to hold a lot of water, because, I mean, clay very rarely will allow water and your air exchange rate to happen over a quicker period of time. So you want a plant that's going to be able to withstand a lot of water retention. Whereas if you plant something in sand, it's basically going to run through, right? Like, well, sand not so much, like it does get clumpy over time. You might want to add some rocks and stuff. But again, it all based back to what kind of material you adding in, because at the end of the day, you got to keep in mind you're rebuilding an ecosystem, right? So you don't want to mess with it. You want to add to it. That's my biggest thing that I really keep to mind. So I guess different types of gardens. You got your typical garden beds that you go in. That's you plow back the grass and you put your soil in. And like I said, you figure out what kind of soil, whether it's clay, it's loomy, or it's whatever that is, right? And you want to add, like I was just saying, you want to add on to that to make what you need. Like if you need a soil that's more of a acidic pH versus something that's more neutral, you want to make sure that you're making that bed into what that is. And that goes for if you're doing anything container growing, or if you're doing I'm losing my words tonight, guys, I'm so sorry. whether you're
raised beds.
Yes, thank you. Or if you're building, like those mounds where you can put logs of wood, and then you put your leaf debris and your grass debris, and then you add your organic material where you put your soil over the mound so that the water comes down and it helps with drainage and stuff. Like there's so much different types of beds that you can create that you need to sit down and figure out, one, what you're going after, two, what kind of ecosystem you want to establish, and just overall, what is your look, right? Because people are really big on landscaping the yards to make it more functional or pretty versus being more organic.
So you're talking like a Hugel culture thing with the logs and stuff?
Sorry?
You're talking like a Hugel culture with the logs and the mulch piles and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or where, as in someone that I know, they'll throw hay bales and grow from there too, which is pretty cool. Like, I've seen it where people are growing mushrooms from using just, logs from whether they bought the logs or it's a storm and they've cut them down. They'll drill little holes into the logs, and then they get these, they almost look like pegs or dowels, sorry. And they're laced with and you tap them into the logs and they will grow your mushrooms from there. Like, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess the tapping action is what actually activates the spores, right? And that's how they grow mushrooms, like the teeth of the forest, when they're not trying to take over the world with what's that one on The Last of Us called again? Cordyceps. There you go.
And their life straws.
Yeah, well, would use life straws, they would have been fine.
Oh boy. We're not going to see Ian for another year after this episode.
Probably not. But so what's your thoughts on synergistic systems with animals and stuff, setting the soil up like that? Would you want to let stuff go fallow for a little while first? Maybe let a alpaca or a goat or whatever just go over top of it, poop on it for a while, and kind of mulch it in, or do you want to just start from something you design yourself?
To be honest, this is where I kind of want Corey to step in, because he actually has hands-on. The only thing I can kind of speak on about that I have experience or some sort of knowledge on is when I did talk to Corey about using rabbit poop. And he will, he praises this stuff through and through. He says he makes this really potent tea and he feeds it back to his plants. And he's the yield I get off my plants is remarkable. So, because it's his whole. I weirdly wish she was here, because his whole breakdown of what he does, he puts it in rainbow, he puts the water in, and he feeds it to his plants, and allows it to grow bigger. But it's just cool how he has his whole rabbit set up, and how that all falls down, and how he's able to collect the poop, because a rabbit actually has two types of poop. The initial first one that comes out, they're able to eat it, where the second one is actually their main, poop.
Yeah, rabbits are double chewers. They'll actually, as it's coming out, they'll eat it, which sounds awesome. That's the soft one. The hard one is actually the leftover poop that you put in your plants. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually a pretty cool process. It's not something I really know much of. It is something I want to get more into. Pierre keeps rolling his eyes every time I keep telling him that we're putting a chicken coop and meat rabbits out in the backyard. And I really don't care what my neighbors have to say, but it's going to happen. Because I do believe in having everything as a cycle. I got friends that have, oh my god, I always call them tapioca fish, and they're not. Tilapia, yeah. So they filter the own water. They help add the nutrients to the plants. It's just a really good system. So how can I want to think, how can I add that into everything? Because at the end of the day, we have fish to eat too if stuff happens. If we only had to stay on our property, right? It's another food source and everything else, and fish reproduce quite easily and, you know, frequently too. So, oh, there's upsides.
Yeah, there's a guy out in Fredericton area that does that with tilapia, and he uses that for gardening as well. He had his own podcast for a while as well. It was the Warrior Ethos podcast, and yeah, he was all about the tilapia.
Yeah, I've watched a lot about the tilapia stuff, and it's quite triggered my mind too, because like I'm like I said, I'm a true believer of whatever you use, how can you upcycle or recycle back into your system so that there's almost a zero waste as you're doing everything.
Pierre is quite right. Rabbit poop is one of the only poops that you don't need time to sit and break it down. It can be used the same day. Chicken poop needs a year to mellow out. Alpaca poop is also the same, though. It can be used right away.
Is that because of like they have more of an acidic rate to them?
No, it's actually, well, the alpacas are like, they have like 3.5 stomachs, not 4. They're technically not like a deer, but yeah, they digest it so well that when it comes out, it's not acidic at all, so it's usable right away.
That's cool. I need to really look into that stuff. Like I got into looking in electric growing, where you take copper wire and wrap it around a pole and you put it into the ground, and then it uses the Earth's natural frequency field that the Earth gives off, and it's supposed to yield your plants bigger and all that stuff. So that's where my heart kind of is lying into experimenting and that, and I don't have animals to do that with. So
that's a great segue to a question in the live chat from Mailman NB, talking about if you have a wire fence around the garden, can it be used as an HF antenna?
Anything could be an antenna.
If you ham hard enough,
yeah,
it can be an antenna.
Even Terry's dead bodies could be used as antennas, really.
It's true. It's true. But that is a great question.
Pierre says, no, we're not getting an alpaca.
well,
come on, you can antenna too, I'm sure.
I'm still working on the mini cow. Shh.
So, Mel, just down on your way from your place to my place, there's a sign on the highway there that says Split Rock Farms Alpacas. It's not that far from you and I.
Huh.
Get males. They'll be cheap. Don't get females if you're going to use them.
I'm not even thinking of that. But yes, I agree with you. But you can go and see them and see if they'll sell you the poop.
Yeah.
Or give it for free. A lot of places do that. Here, take the shit.
Mm-hmm. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you, Mel. For those of us that don't have green thumbs, spring is just slowly showing up here. If Mother Nature doesn't decide to do another dumping of snow on us, what are some steps or some things that we could be doing to get our gardens, if they're already kind of in place, ready for this growing season?
This is such a trick question because, like, I'm a true believer that until my dandelions are grown and bloom, I don't touch my yard at all. I let all my leaves, all the last year, whatever, kind of do its thing, because believe it or not, your leaf coverings from last year and all that other stuff is actually protecting the bugs that are on your property, and like bees will hide in it, like you name it, will hide underneath these leaves and wherever they can, just to stay away from the winter. So I really try and hold off as much as possible. Plus, I also like to give the bees a jump start. But when it surpasses that point, I would look back on your last year, what you grew, and I would also put into consideration of doing a crop rotation, because you don't necessarily want to plant the same things in the fields. Like if you watch the farmers, they always go between, corn, soya, I think it's hay, and they kind of rotate between the three. The only shitty part is with keeping it 2 or 3 things that you're really depleting the soil of a lot of its nutrients, because you want to keep adding back in. Like I said, you want to keep in mind like that whole ecosystem, that whole cycle giving back, because when you grow something, that plant might be depleting of whatever nutrients or mineral or whatever in the soil, and you want to put it back in. So you can get stuff like pH testers. There is an old trick that I learned when I took my arboriculture course, that you could take some water in a mason jar, you put your soil in it, you shake it up, you put it on your counter, you do not touch it. And then you can watch the layers of your soil, and depending on how they sit, you can tell if you have a sandy loam, if you got a clay base, or any of that stuff based off that. You can simply Google, I forget the name of the test. I apologize, but like it's a very simple test. Won't give you 100%, but like you'll get to at least visually see certain things, right? And if you Google, you can see what sandy loam kind of looks like and what clay, and I mean, clay's really not hard to miss, right? You can pretty well make a sculpture out of it.
Right.
But yeah.
Interesting. So I don't have
Yeah,
to do any yard work for another couple months. Excellent.
No, but the trick is too is that you want to watch out for May long weekend, because I don't know how many times I've went out and I've planted my medical cannabis outside, and then next thing you know, there's snow being in the forecast, and that's a no-no.
Right.
Just like tomatoes, marijuana is very picky on what you do, and if you don't cover it, you can turn it into like a male, and like your whole thing's ruined. So just watch the network. But I've also noticed that watching the weather over the last few years, May long weekend has kind of been like pushed back a bit. So when we're all enjoying the Monday off or whatever, unfortunately, it's like the week or two after that where you get your plants in. But you also have to be careful because you don't know how the year is gonna end. So my goal is honestly the week after May long, pray to the garden gods, plant your stuff. People may
Gotcha.
argue with that, but that's just what I have noticed and how my stuff works out every year. And I actually grow pretty decent gardens even when I half-ass them. So
Good to know. And you don't have to worry. Nobody argues on the internet, so we'll be okay.
oh, that's cool. I'll leave my email.
Yeah, all
But-
depends on the climate zone too, right? Some people might be May long weekend. Other people are earlier or later. It's like, obviously up in northern Alberta, they're not going to be waiting until like Canada Day to plant.
No.
And then they have like 30 days of good growing 24/7, and then they're done. So
Fair enough. At that point, get yourself a greenhouse.
yeah,
And actually, there's BC greenhouse houses. I've been researching them for the last few years, and they seem to have really decent quality greenhouses. They build them for season, so they can get you through the winters and everything else. I don't own one, and I am not paid to say anything, but like take a look at them. And if you order one, please email me and let me know how they work out, because I really want one. But like if your garden's all set up growing, and like I was saying too, like your crop rotation, make sure you start looking into and researching companion growing, because in all honesty, like you want to make your garden just like you make your house. You want to make it as lazy as you are. So if you can't do gardening every damn day, or if you can't do gardening every once a week, make your garden work for you. So again, there's ground coverage you can get. There is certain plants, so you can build kind of almost like a level, right? Like you can take your corn and you can mix it with your beans or anything that crawls. So, and then there's then you can put your squash, and then even under your squash or your pumpkin or whatever type of plant. Sorry, I'm losing my words again. It's too late for me. You can put your ground cover, so you can throw like clover underneath too, so it takes care of your soil, so you're not out there weeding all the time. You can even go around your yard too and see what kind of plants you have around your yard, because a lot of the time you got stuff that's like wild lettuce, which actually, believe it or not, is a natural painkiller. I'm not going to state which one, but it is a natural painkiller. Dandelion. Dandelion is known everywhere. It's a coffee alternative. It's full of vitamin A, like so much vitamins. Like, so pick that plant up and put it in your garden, or let it go to seed and collect the seeds that way as well. Because you're not only collecting native plants within your area and helping the native plants prosper. I mean, be careful of the invasive. There's Google apps for that can show you and tell you, and you can also get books that show you reference of what you're grabbing and moving, because you want to get rid of the invasive stuff and keep the native, right? Because we don't want our native plants to go out, because they're used to our zones, they're used to the environment and the climate and everything. But
well, dandelions are, of course, they're invasive. They're introduced, right? But you can eat the greens for sure, and which is kind of nice. And like you said, coffee alternative with the roots and everything else. It's pretty cool.
oh yeah,
For companion planting, like there's actually books, entire books dedicated, like Carrots Love Tomatoes and a bunch of those ones, right? Like there's a whole series of them. They can get on Amazon pretty easily.
which is surprised I don't have. I was quite surprised at that, because I actually went upstairs and I took a look at my book thing, and I'm like, I don't have any of those. So it's good to know that I got to get some of those in my own personal library.
Straight to Amazon after the episode.
Yeah. Get your credit card, Pierre. I know you're watching.
So
Don't worry, they'll ship the life straws with the books. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weight savings, yeah, all that stuff.
And we'll make Eclipse. I survived the Eclipse T-shirts.
Hey, you can do that too.
Mhm.
for somebody who this is their first absolute crack at growing a garden, can you quick walk through how, if you were doing it and it was your very first garden, how you would prep it? I know there's a lot of controversy on both sides of till to no till to, do you use potting soil? Do you just get some topsoil from somewhere, whatever? What are your thoughts on just kind of getting something going?
To get something going, I would really focus on getting your soil started up, because your soil is like your foundation. So as long as you are knowing what kind of plants you're looking at, so I guess I'd be kind of hand in hand then. And you want to start something easy, something that if you mess up, it's not a big deal. Like you're not going to turn your female plant into a male plant, then you're going to have a whole buckload of problem and useless material. So maybe tomatoes not your first bet. So honestly, strawberry seems to be quite easy. As long as you, like Brad personally taught me this one actually, that you want to pluck off the flowers at the first season so that everything goes down into the roots and concentrated on the actual plant versus giving you your strawberries. Of course, you're going to miss a few, but it's fine. But like something as simple as strawberries, they're foolproof. They really are.
Oh, and herbs too, generally. Like
Oh,
I joke about my mint, but I mean like mint's invasive as heck. And as long as you got soil and occasional water, like anybody can grow that, right? And so like even as a barter item or whatever, like herbs can be used for obviously wild game and everything else. And it's pretty much hands
even
off.
even for healing, like you can plant a plant that's called yarrow, and it actually will stop bleeding on minor cuts and scrapes to any of your surface. So when you're out there, you just chew on the yarrow leaf and then you throw it on your wound, and it will aid in stopping the bleeding. So I mean, it is, you are right. Herbs is something else that is really good. If you're someone like me, I mean, I can grow the crap out of lavender outside, but don't bring it into my house. Like it will not grow. I don't know how many lavender plants I've owned or gifted, and like in my house, no go. Outside, not a problem.
I can attest to the truth of that.
And I don't know for water, so I don't know what I do. So whatever. But I would start, honestly, Jeff, to answer your question, I would start like something that's like if you're going fruits or vegetables, I'd do something like peas, cucumber, strawberries again, herbs like Ian was saying. I'd start off with dill, mint, like he said. What other ones were very easy?
Squashes, stuff like that.
I find squash are a little tricky because depending on your soil, every year I grew in the last town we lived in, I would get the mildew on the leaf.
Oh. Hey, carrots too, though.
And
Same idea. Like that's one of those things that's high food value, use it and everything, and it's just as long as you keep the rabbits off the leaves, you're fine.
yeah. And I would also get into the ground your garlic, your onions, and potatoes. And if
Okay,
you're
so
not,
I guess maybe I wasn't quite clear enough. What I was getting back to was, how do I even start that garden? What do I do? I've got a patch of ground. Do I
okay,
do I till it? Do I not till it? I've heard some people say lay down cardboard, throw
yeah.
dirt on top of it. Like start me from literally, like I said, there's my grass, and I now want to make that a garden.
Honestly, oh my God, foolproof, do your till. Because that will give you the knowledge on at least how to get stuff into the ground, how stuff is growing, how it reacts with your wind, your sun, all that other stuff. Just till it. Keep it simple. And then you can move on to experiment with the no-till or throwing the cardboard over the garden. I've actually done that process. I didn't do the dirt over top. I just wetted the wetted the cardboard and let it break down over the time and whatever else, and then I just tilled in all that stuff. But honestly, the starting point, just till it. Just get it out of your system, break ground, get the stuff in there.
And not just that too. You also got to market too. Like as much as everybody likes to make fun of everybody with having the nice neat rows, but you got to figure out what's what as far as how much you need to water it and when you're going to harvest it and everything else. So if you have like a row, and even if it's just half a row, you kind of got to mark the dividing line where you planted all your carrots, where you planted all your peas, so that you know what to expect. And obviously, you get to have room between each row to walk and water and weed and everything else. So make sure you give yourself lots of space. Like, don't pack it too tight, and make sure you can access everything. So that's the other thing. And sometimes just use a string when you're planting your rows to keep it in a straight line. So you just put in 2 stakes, string, dig your holes as required, and then mark them really well.
Corey actually uses milk crates. So
Yeah,
on the
whatever.
bottom of the milk crate, he uses the different shapes and different spacing just by taking the milk crate, putting it on the ground, and then he just remembers, puts his little sign, and then carries on from there. He's also done, I think, the no dig tilling or no dig, and I think he's put the what is it, the landscape tarp over top and just made his hole that way. So kind of like the no till, but kind of putting a hole in the ground to let things grow. I could stand to be corrected, but I think that's the other method he's used as well.
A friend of mine recommended to me. He said his mom, who always has a garden, did it. Believe it or not, she takes a muffin tin, like the pan you cook your muffins in. It's got the circles, and they're always the same spot, and they just push that down, and it makes a little indent. They know exactly where they can plant, and it gives them spacing.
And that's actually a really good idea too, because some seeds you can't go too far down into the soil, because if it goes too far down, it can't start. So you basically suffocate it in the soil and it won't grow. And having a tin like that, you can always put a line or something on it to know, okay, I have to go this depth for this type of seed. I can go full way down to the tin for this type or whatever. So it's actually a pretty cool idea.
Kind of like ham radio. I think everybody's got 10 different opinions for 5 different ways to do things, and it's there's no wrong way, I don't think, at this point. As long as you
No,
try.
exactly, and it's all about experimental. Like, you're going to mess up. You're gonna not know that, cucumbers, they actually don't pollinate themselves. So then you got to take a Q-tip and pollinate yourself through them, right? So like it's all about experiments. So just take the plants that you're planting, like you said, Ian, keep it simple, and just write yourself down what the requirements are, and just learn slowly, step by step. So I mean, you're all screwed anyways, because tomorrow's the eclipse and like the apocalypse is gonna happen. So if you don't have it in by now, make friends with your neighbors.
You're too late.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, more than one YouTuber's been saying that in the last couple of days. Oh boy.
This is true. This is true. We're not one of those YouTubers, though.
No.
Nope.
Oh, that's awesome. Mel, any other tips and tricks you wanted to get out for the listeners on gardening, or any other questions from the panelists?
Just get out and experiment. In all honesty, like we all keep saying, like you're going to make your mistakes. It's all experiment. It's all about having fun. Get your hands dirty. Get it into Mother Nature, and just take your time and learn. Like it's not that complicated. You're not expected to know Latin terms of what plants are in like a week's time here. So just enjoy. Be outside. Enjoy the sun. We're going to be taxed on that soon anyway. So.
Or have a eclipse viewing permit or something, yeah. But yeah, no, it's not just people with acreages or large backyards either. I mean, I think it's safe to say that as long as you have a large planter, even on your deck of your apartment, you can still get into this too. It doesn't have to be a massive setup. It can just be something small, just to get your habits going, I guess, more than anything else.
Worst case scenario, and worst case scenario, like you said, Ian, start with herbs. Put them in containers. Learn what they do in there, so that you can pull them in the winter. You can use them all season long, and all you have to do is tend to them. Like, sleep with it.
Gardening.
Yeah. And even then, like, you get to learn, like, when sun comes through the window, that you lose some of that UV rays that plants use when coming, like, because you're going through window, right? So you get to learn all that stuff, and you get to experiment with all that.
And now's the time to practice and experiment while you can still run down to the grocery store and pick up what you need if you can't grow it.
Or more seeds if you screw up the first batch.
More seeds. Yep.
That too.
You have until what, 3 o'clock, I think it is?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, geez.
Awesome. Anything else from the panelists?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks again, Mel, for sharing your gardening knowledge. Do appreciate it. And we'll move into the podcast challenge.
All right, podcast challenge this week is plant something, anything. Maybe even just get some green onions from the grocery store, cut off the bases, throw them in some soil, and see what happens. Anyway, just tell us what you did. Maybe mint for your mojitos, like I was saying before. So you got to prepare for summer somehow. Start with something idiot proof, like I do, and work your way up. Let us know how you did.
Awesome. All right, upcoming events.
Well, we got to flog the annual preppers meet coming up July 11th to 14th, and the more the merrier. Lots of rooms, new venue this year, and lots of room for campers and people, happy people. And we've been starting to put the schedule up online on the website. So if you, Eric's got, maybe he'll put that link up there for the annualpreppersmeet.com.
Sure can.
The website. And you can get all your info there. Don't look too carefully at the times that are on that schedule, because just the way the program was set up, you had to plug a number in. So yours truly just plugged the number in. They don't make any sense whatsoever. Just know that the person's going to be there.
Sounds like something a Ford driver would say.
Oh, yeah. We got an excuse for everything.
All right. I guess everybody should download the Strava app onto their phone and destroy their own OPSEC as well. The Resual 4-day march is coming up, which is the Finnish Military Reserve Worldwide March. It's a virtual thing where you can basically participate in this march. There's a link in the show notes. I think Eric's going to plug it on the YouTube right away here. And
Cool.
Basically, they're expected to do about 40 kilometers over 4 days as a minimum, so 10 kilometers a day. You can join Team Ragnarok from the other podcast. And basically, I think last 2 years running, we came in either number 1 or 2 for total distance marched by team. So
Nice.
yeah, join the winning team and get in some exercise as well. You basically just have to carry 20 pounds, 10 kilometers for 4 days straight. And yeah, so work your way up to that, I guess, more than anything else. And yeah, the Strava app, it's good for recording your GPS distance, and it's free, which is good. So
I'm just thinking 20 pounds of ham gear, walk for an activation.
Yeah.
Put both things together.
Yeah. Do you like parks on the air, but on the move?
A little bit more extreme.
Yeah.
I like it.
New
All
activity.
right, Jeff. You had a weather blurb, Jeff.
I do. So obviously, it's that time of year that we've had the battle of the temperatures with Mother Nature. I still think she's going through menopause. It was we sometimes got more snow now than we got in the middle of winter, especially the Maritimes, the upper east side of the U.S. coast there. They've seen a lot of rain and a lot of snow in the last week and a half. However, it appears that we're turning the corner. Long range forecast is trending, starting to trend upwards. More spring-like conditions. Not saying we're not maybe going to get the odd snow here or there. I don't think we'll get. Last Thursday we got about 10 centimeters of that really heavy wet snow. Caused a lot of problems around here with down trees and power outages and whatever. I don't think we're gonna be having another one of those. I could be wrong, but of course, now that we're starting to get into that bit of a warmer trend, that's when you start seeing the severe storms develop. Usually in the Midwest U.S., up the Ohio Valley area, maybe even into Southern Ontario. It's that time of year. It's variable. There was a couple times that the possibility of a tornado outbreak was there. The Cape levels were very high. The cap was very high. They had wind shear. They had everything that should have caused the tornado, and they got next to nothing, which is a good thing, by the way. There was a couple of days where it was, things are really going to be marginal, and it dropped 2 tornadoes. So always be on the lookout, be aware. If you don't have a weather radio, you really should get one. I like to treat that a weather radio like my smoke detector. They're not expensive, but they can save your life. So I can't see a reason for not having one. Lots of places sell them. Going back
that was a good test to see if Ian is Alan, because if he was, he would have jumped on that and said carbon monoxide.
That is true. That is true.
He's got to keep his secret a secret.
It's like Janet and Michael. He never saw us in the same place at the same time. Maybe once.
Maybe. So talking just a quick little segue about the seismic activity that, we've had those 2 earthquakes. Seismic activity has been on the increase lately. In the last 30 days, there's been over 3,500 earthquakes worldwide that had a magnitude. So back to the Richter scale. I don't know about this whole new one either. I haven't really looked into it, but had a magnitude of 1.5 or higher. So there's been 3,500 in the last month. Shouldn't be much of a shocker that Alaska's had more than their fair share of them. They always seem to, but there's just been a lot of activity around. If you're interested, you're nosy, it's a thing you like to keep track of. There is a quick little website, just it's earthquaketrack.com/recent, and it'll just pop you up, and it'll give you a list of all of the recent earthquakes. There's a map, they plot them on there for you, and it's actually kind of neat to look at every once in a while. And so that's about all I've got for now.
And no coincidence at all, but they're firing up the Large Hadron Collider tomorrow at CERN, right around the link eclipse time. Just so you know, I'm just saying. If you
They're firing up the what?
The Large Hadron Collider at the
Oh, really?
There. Yeah.
Last time that went up, the what is it? The Monopoly guy lost his monocle, and it's not Berenstein Bears, it's Berenstain Bears now, and everything.
So if tomorrow wasn't bad enough, I guess it's gonna make it worse. So
you're gonna wake up with life straws as hands.
Mr. Lifestraw head.
Oh, jeez.
At least you get the milder version of the LA, right? I'm just saying. I mean, he's in the chat, but.
Oh boy. And he's shouting. Actually, we got deal of the week first.
Yeah, actually, these are amazing containers that I found at Home Depot. They fold out and they actually will stack on top of each other, and they're interlinkable. So if you buy a bunch of kits, you can actually extend them quite large. And like Brad can contest, like I had mine all over my house, all down my wall. They are really cool planters. They take a lot of soil, fair warning. However, they are amazing, especially if you need to grow in a patio, or if you have an apartment, or you just want a patio grow. Even in your house, they're really cool. You can throw up a couple grow lights in your house and throw them in there, and got yourself a food source inside your house, or a herb source, whatever you want.
Very nice.
I have strawberries planted in them right now.
Ooh.
They are amazing containers.
They worked very well for strawberries last year.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Any shout outs?
I got one just because Pierre told me to. Huge shout out to Pierre for allowing me to take his place here. He's such a generous man. I love him with all my heart and his facial hair. I'd also like to thank the amazing panelists for having me on here and letting me speak about my favorite topics. Hashtag Go Maple Buffalo Go.
Yes. Well, it's been a pleasure having you back for a third episode.
Anytime. Like as my studies continue, I have no.
You can replace.
Go ahead, John.
You can replace Pierre every day, every week. It's fine with me.
We would not complain.
No.
But then you just get him in the chat. So I mean, maybe you don't have
but
to.
We can control that easier. That's way easier to control.
You can't do drunk chatting, really.
Well, I mean, speak into it. Oh boy.
All right. Well, with that, I'll bring episode number 234 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or of course your favorite podcast app. Please submit a review. It does help the algorithms get us up to the top of the list.
And we do record these shows live on YouTube and Facebook, unless you're Ian. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast. and click the notifications tab. That will give you an alert when we are going live. If for whatever reason you want to reach out to me and Eric feels generous, you can contact me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
Hey, Brad. You're muted, Brad.
Oh, crap. One of those nights. If anybody wants to send me anything, fatbradcpp@gmail.com.
And you can reach me at the Annual Preppers Meet Facebook page or on my email, terrylblackmore@hotmail.com.
You can find me, the Frugal Gunny, on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and CPP's Discord.
For shirt orders, you can get Pierre or I at offthewallcustomizing@gmail.com. And for personal, you can find me lost in the woods making friends with plants and animals.
Well done.
Fair enough. You can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, theoretically. I actually tried to get back on. It worked. So I was able to get on WhatsApp, which is what I really needed it for. I just refused to post anything on there or even give it any proper information for fear of getting banned again. So
You told the algorithms, now you are banned.
Yeah, so much for OPSEC, right? Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm technically on there, but I never go on there. So you can find me on Canadian Patriot Podcast, which is live on YouTube, recording Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, as well as on iTunes, plus the Gilded app for CPP. Forget Gab. There you can find us discussing why government waste and general degradation of society has me drinking mojitos.
Now we just got to get you back on the Discord.
That would be nice.
That would be good. All right. Check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.